You wake up just before dawn, not because you meant to, but because a fine silt of powdered plaster has settled in your nose and throat. You cough quietly, trying not to disturb the neighbors, though you're not sure where your apartment ends and theirs begins. The walls are made of mud brick and timber, and they shift slightly when you move. You are on the 6th floor, the very top of a Roman insula, an apartment block stacked like a game of desperate geometry, each level slightly less believable than the one beneath it. The air is thick, stale, and warm from so many sleeping bodies layered above and below. You can hear your upstairs neighbor turn over in his straw mattress, and the entire ceiling creaks, sighs, then returns to silence. You hold your breath. It holds for now. Outside, the sounds of the city are still muted. Somewhere in the Subura district, a dog barks. A cart creaks past on rickety wheels. Someone spits. The walls shift again, not violently, but enough to remind you that you are not resting in a house built for beauty or longevity, but one built for profit. Your mattress is straw, thin. You sleep on the floor with 3 others, your brother, your aunt, and a bricklayer who pays part of the rent in fish. It's not unusual. In this part of Rome, privacy is a myth and square footage is currency. You roll over and watch the ceiling breathe. The wooden beams are dark with age and moisture. You can see where fire once licked the edges of one. Last year's blaze came too close. The landlord patched it with rough plaster and prayers. The prayers haven't held. You get up slowly. Every step you take feels like a question. Will this floor remember its purpose today? You step over the snoring shapes of your family. You reach the narrow window, no glass, just shutters, and push them open. The air outside is cold and wet and full of Rome. Smoke, sweat, wine, garbage. Somewhere something is rotting, but that could be anything. A fish market, a tannery, a man who fell behind on his rent. You don't go outside yet. The stairwell is shared by every family in the building and smells like boiled onions, wet wool, and urine. You'll wait for the crush to pass. Besides, the stairs are steep, slippery, and lean oddly to the left. One woman fell 2 floors last week and broke her collarbone. She still has to sweep floors in the Forum. The city is alive. So is the building. Barely. The building is not still. Sways not dramatically but constantly. The kind of sway that a drunk develops just before collapsing. If you're used to it, you don't notice. If you're new to it, you lie awake all night wondering when the moment will come. You've lived here long enough that the sway no longer startles you. You walk with it. You lean with it. You pray with it. You have learned the small language of timber and brick. A creak means cold moisture. A thud means someone dropped a pot. A crack, short and sharp, means something worse. The insula is built on ambition and shortcuts. Every apartment was a gamble. Every upper floor a compromise. Down below, the wealthier tenants live closer to the street, where the walls are thicker, the ceilings higher, and escape routes more plausible. Up here, you live with pigeons, roof rot, and the quiet certainty that gravity is your true landlord. The builder, you've been told, was paid by volume, not by safety. He used opus cementitium, Roman concrete, mixed carelessly with too much ash and too little lime. The bricks are weak, soft, and eager to crumble. Timber is cheaper than stone. Labor is cheaper than timber. Your building is a sculpture of economy. No one inspects it. No one maintains it. The landlord collects rent through a collector who answers to another collector who has never once climbed these stairs. He sends letters sealed in wax and warnings sealed in threat. But wood cannot read. Brick cannot obey. And the rain that falls through the cracks has never once paid a denarius. You sit by the wall and press your ear to it. You can hear the conversation of your neighbors, arguments over bread, whispers of betrayal, the moaning of an ill child. But beneath all that, you hear the wall itself, breathing in moisture, holding its load, regretting its purpose. The Romans are master builders, but not here, not for the poor. Not for the forgotten who live above the clouds of dinner smoke and below the mercy of gods. You tie your sandals and make your way toward the stairwell. The floor slopes downward. You pretend not to notice. You descend slowly. Each step is a negotiation. The stairwell is narrow, crumbling, and made of timber blackened with soot and history. There is no banister. There is no lamp. Only your hands on the walls and your hope that no one is running up the other way. The fourth floor smells like spoiled olives. The third smells like fish sauce and fire. The second is quiet, blessedly still. On the first floor you pause. Not because you've reached the bottom, but because you always pause here. The walls don't creak here. The floor is flat. The light shines through a proper doorway, and for a moment you imagine that you live here. Down low, safe, civilized. But you don't. Outside, Rome greets you with noise and stone and steam. The sun has just begun to rise and already the streets are alive. Bread hawkers, beggars, mule carts. The bakery on the corner is open, its heat spilling into the alley like breath from a wounded god. You step inside. The floor is black from years of ash and foot traffic. The baker barely looks up. He knows your face, your appetite, your poverty. You pay a few copper coins for a small blackened loaf, half barley, half sawdust, and all chew. You tear into it as you walk. The crust shatters. The inside is damp, but it's warm. You bite it anyway. A child bumps into you. Dust rains down from a nearby building. You flinch. Everyone flinches. It's not a rare event. Sometimes a balcony gives way. Sometimes a tile falls. Sometimes it's just the city settling. No one screams. No one rushes. You all keep walking. You find a place to sit. A broken step beside a closed bathhouse. You eat in silence, dipping your bread in cheap watered wine. Tastes like rust and regret. Behind you, a pair of men argue about drainage. One swears his neighbor's latrine pipe empties directly onto his roof. He's probably right. Rome is loud, angry, collapsing. But it's home. Above, someone shouts. A pot shatters on the stone beside you. You don't look up. You finish your wine. You dust off the breadcrumbs. And you walk. There are errands to run, walls to avoid, and gods to appease. And there is always the silent hope that your building will still be standing when you return. You walk with care through the alleys of Subura, the poorest, loudest, most flammable corner of the Roman Empire. The streets here are not wide enough for wagons. They're barely wide enough for thought. Above you, the buildings lean forward like curious spectators, reaching out across the narrow sky, whispering their secrets through cracked plaster and groaning beams. Water drips, constantly, from somewhere, from everywhere. You step over a puddle, but it's not rainwater. It hasn't rained in days. The drip is steady, oily, and smells faintly like rot and urine. It runs from a rusted pipe embedded in a wall 3 stories up. The apartment owner likely bored a hole through his latrine floor, letting waste empty into the street below. There is no punishment. There is no inspector. Gravity does the work Rome refuses to. Further down the alley, someone has built a makeshift wooden aqueduct. Barely a gutter, more like a plank with ambition. It channels gray water from an upper floor to the sewer trench below. But the plank is cracked, and the water spills out, pooling into the soft brick of the foundation. You pause. The building beside you sags just slightly at the base. Its bricks are pale and crumbly, exposed, wet, exhausted. A child sits nearby, chewing on a reed and tossing stones into the puddle. You wonder if he knows he's playing beside a slow disaster. The Roman sewer system is a wonder of the ancient world. They call it the Cloaca Maxima, the greatest drain. But it doesn't reach here. Not to this alley. Not to the floors above the 5th level. For most residents, sanitation is a pot, a window, and a good aim. Sometimes they miss. You turn a corner and walk past a pile of broken amphorae. Their contents, fish brine or spoiled wine, mixes with the street sludge, forming a kind of permanent grease that coats your sandals and never entirely leaves. The stench is not just bad, it's architectural. It has weight. It changes how buildings smell, how air tastes, how mortar decays. Up above, a wooden beam juts out over the walkway. Pulley hangs from it. Someone lifts a basket of laundry, hand over hand. The rope creaks. You stare at the beam holding it all. The wood is gray, swollen, rotten. You imagine it letting go. A snap, a fall, a scream. You keep walking. Rome has no fire code, no water regulation, no drainage rules for 6th floor toilets. What it has is improvisation, and a prayer that nothing gives out while you're standing beneath it. By midday, the sun presses down like a stone, baking the tiles, the dust, and the roofs. You return to your insula just as someone lights a cook fire 2 floors below you. You smell it before you see it. Charcoal, smoke, and the sharp metallic scent of old oil. You pause halfway up the stairs. The fire is legal, common, dangerous. There are no chimneys here, no proper hearths, just braziers, clay pots of flame, and the ever-present gamble of, maybe this time it won't catch the ceiling. The neighbor's door is open. You glance in. A woman fans a fire beneath a clay stove. The wall beside it is black from smoke. The ceiling above it has bowed slightly. She sees you, shrugs, and returns to her cooking. You continue upward, your hand brushing the wall for balance. It's warm. That's not good. The upper floors are mostly timber. Not just the beams, but the floors, the walls, the doors, everything. The stone below is a memory. Up here, fire is not just a hazard. It's a prophecy. You think of last year, the fire that took the bakery and 2 blocks around it. You remember the screams, the smoke, the people leaping from balconies, hoping for broken legs instead of burning lungs. One of them landed beside you. He didn't move again. There are no fire brigades in your district. There are bucket lines. There are panicked neighbors. There are prayers to Vulcan. But there is no help fast enough when timber decides it's done living. You reach your floor and push the door open. Inside, the heat holds still like a breath. Your brother lies on the floor, sweating. Your aunt is boiling lentils in a pot that rests on bricks. The coals beneath it glow softly. You check the ceiling above the pot. It's holding, for now. In Rome, you cook because you must, and you hope the building forgives you. In the evening, after the sun dips low and the heat lifts, you walk with a neighbor down the Via Biberatica. He's a bricklayer, older than most buildings in the district. His hands are thick with scars, his back bent like old timber. He points to a half-finished insula, 5 stories high, its walls still exposed. The scaffolding is nothing but lashed poles and good luck. Too tall, he says. You nod. He spits into the dirt. They'll add 2 more stories, I guarantee it. Cheap brick. Bad lime. Timber crossbeams without supports. I've seen it before. I won't live there. You ask why anyone would. Because it's there, he shrugs. Because it's cheap. Because no one tells them no. You pass another insula. Finished, occupied, and already shedding its plaster like sunburned skin. A crack runs from the 2nd floor to the 4th, wide enough for weeds. The top floor leans ever so slightly westward, like it's tired of pretending. The builder, you've heard, was a freedman made rich through speculation. He cut every corner and bribed every clerk. No one inspected the brick. No one checked the concrete mix. He used volcanic ash in the wrong ratio. The walls will hold until they don't. You remember when an insula 2 streets over collapsed last spring. Middle of the night. No fire, no quake. Just too much weight, too little structure. They pulled 30 bodies from the rubble. Some were never found. There was no trial. The builder had moved to Ostia. The landlord blamed the tenants. The city sent a priest. He burned incense and declared the land cursed. Then they built again. You ask the bricklayer how he sleeps. On the ground floor, he says. He stops walking and looks up at the roofs above, the leaning balconies, the rope pulleys and laundry lines swaying in the breeze. We build up, he murmurs, because we can't build out. But we forget. The gods still live below. You say nothing. A breeze picks up. Dust swirls. And somewhere, far away, you hear the slow, unmistakable sound of timber giving way. It happens without warning. A sound like thunder, but closer. A groan, a cracking, a sharp cough from the earth, and then silence, like the world is holding its breath. You look up. Dust drifts from the roof tiles. A dog barks once and runs. Then the sound returns. Louder. Final. The building is across the alley. 5 stories. You've passed it 100 times. Today it shivers, and then sags forward like an old man giving up. The top floor slides first, then the second, then the rest folds downward into itself, as if the city decided it no longer believed in architecture. You are frozen. Everyone is. The collapse is not fast. It is deliberate, cruel. Walls peel away, beams snap, bricks tumble in great dusty waves. The air turns brown and thick with lime. You hear a scream, then another, then none. When it ends, the pile is almost quiet. A coughing brick peel. A memory. You move forward with the others, careful, quiet. A hand reaches from the rubble, fingers bloodied and moving. Someone shouts. A boy runs to fetch help. But there is no help. Not real help. No trained rescue corps. No organized response. Just neighbors with shovels, priests with incense, and officials with scrolls they won't read. You help lift a timber beam. Cracks. Beneath it is a sandal, then a leg, then a girl no older than your sister. She doesn't move. A senator arrives. His toga is clean. He frowns but doesn't speak. A scribe makes a mark on a wax tablet. The senator leaves. Someone says the building was too tall. Someone else says the landlord bribed the brickmakers. You nod, say nothing. Everyone knows. No one says it too loud. There will be no trial. No rebuilding. Tomorrow, a new market stall will open on this spot, selling chickpeas and prayers. You walk home past the wreckage, your own building sighs as you open the door. You wonder how long it has left. Night falls. You light a clay lamp and set it on the floor. The flame dances nervously, as if it knows something. You lie on your mat, trying to sleep, listening to the building settle. The timber above you ticks like an old heartbeat. Someone coughs on the floor below. Someone else mutters in their sleep. Then silence, deep and thick. You are almost asleep when the shouting starts. Fire! You sit up too fast. The lamp tips over. You catch it barely. You smell smoke. Not thick. Not yet. But rising. You scramble to the stairwell. A red glow pulses below. Someone is running, barefoot. Someone else is crying. You see a woman holding a jar, dipping water from a barrel, and passing it to another. The bucket chain begins, but it's slow, uncoordinated. The water sloshes. It's not enough. The fire started on the second floor. A cooking flame, an oil spill, maybe a curtain. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it has found timber, and the timber is thirsty. You run downstairs with the others. You grab a broken amphora, fill it from the gutter barrel, and throw it toward the flame. It hisses. The smoke answers with a growl. A man tries to pull a door open. It won't budge. The frame is already warped. A child screams inside. The roof above creaks, then sags, then catches. Someone shouts that the fire is spreading upward. You turn and see it. A slow blossom of red crawling along the ceiling. The third floor is next. You yell for your family. They're behind you, barefoot, scared, carrying bundles of cloth and bread. You don't wait. You run. Outside, the night air is cold and cruel. You stand barefoot on stone. Behind you, your home glows with betrayal. The neighbors spill into the street. Some are coughing. One is bleeding. A woman holds a goat by its neck, weeping. The fire brigade arrives. Not trained men, just a few volunteers with wet cloaks and long poles. They try to push the fire back. The flames laugh. By morning, the top 2 floors are gone. Your home is black, wet, and skeletal. You have what you carried. That's all. And somewhere in the wreckage, the fire still sleeps. You find shelter in a friend's insula nearby. The smaller, lower, only 4 floors. You thank them, eat their bread, and sleep on a floor that does not slope. But you do not rest. You lie awake and think of stairwells, of smoke, of shouts in the dark. You think of how narrow the exits were, of how long it took to reach the street, of how many people were still behind you. You realize something that no one says aloud. There are no escape routes. Roman insulae are built up, not out. They are stairs and doors and dead ends. Windows that open to air too high to jump from. Ladders that rot. Balconies that lean. You rise and walk through the new building. You count the stair turns. You note the roof beams. You measure the distance from your mat to the alley outside. You do this because next time there may be no time. You remember your brother's face in the firelight. Pale, silent, his eyes wide not with fear, but with understanding. He knows now too. The Romans build great roads, great aqueducts, great walls, but their homes, for the poor, for the many, they build them to rent, not to last, and never to escape. You are summoned. A clerk in a clean tunic knocks on your shoulder with a rod. No eye contact, no explanation, just the words, "Come." Senator Plautus wishes to speak. You know the name. Everyone does. He owns 3 blocks of Subura, and half the buildings that lean above it. You follow the clerk past the forum, where white marble still sparkles with the lie of order, past the steps where philosophers argue, where coins change hands, where nothing burns and nothing collapses, at least not in public. The senator's domus is cool and quiet. Columns, fountains, birds in cages. No smoke, no leaning walls, no splintered timber. He sits on a wide bench, eating olives with 2 fingers and perfect boredom. You bow. He gestures without looking. Sit. You do. He asks what happened in the alley. You tell him, briefly, truthfully. He nods, then waves a hand. Unfortunate, but these things happen. Rome is growing. Wood fails. Brick shifts. The people rebuild. You say nothing. He stands, walks to a scroll on the wall, taps it. There's a plan, you know. The Lex Iulia, safety codes, height limits, inspections. You nod. Everyone's heard of the law, but no one's seen it enforced. He smiles, the kind of smile that costs someone a roof. Do you know why we don't enforce them? You hesitate, then answer, because it's cheaper not to. He laughs. You're not stupid. That's good. He offers you a bowl of grapes. You decline. He shrugs. These buildings rise and fall like markets. If one collapses, another goes up. If tenants die, new ones arrive. Rome doesn't stop for dust. You want to argue, but you're tired. He continues, almost gently. What matters is not preventing collapse. It's controlling the story after. He pours himself wine. Tell people the floor rotted. The tenant left a fire burning. Blame rain. Blame fate. Blame time. You ask what happens to the families. The burned. The buried. He doesn't look at you. There are always more. You leave the senator's house. The sunlight outside is too bright. The world feels thinner, hungrier. You walk back through streets that still smoke, past walls where laundry used to dry, past children who do not laugh. You smell the aftermath, soot, lime, wet ash, and the strange sweetness of cooked plaster. Your home is gone. So are your neighbors. Some buried, some missing, some scattered. You help rebuild, but only the lower levels. No one volunteers for the top floors anymore. The new bricks are rushed, the mortar thin, the scaffolding looks familiar. You see the same bricklayer. He doesn't meet your eyes. You don't blame him. Your brother finds a job carrying water. Your aunt sells bread from a cart made of salvaged doors. You sleep on stone now, beneath a roof of canvas, dreaming of timber snapping. At night, you hear singing from the other alleys. A wedding, a baby's cry. Life goes on. You wonder if memory is made of clay too, soft at first, then hardened by fire. You visit the rubble once, just once. A flower grows near the edge. You don't know who planted it. Maybe no one. Maybe the city trying to pretend. Weeks pass, then months. The alley clears. The rubble is shoveled. The bones are quietly taken by priests. The city shrugs. A new insula rises, taller than the last. The same problems, the same cheap beams, the same bribes. You watch it grow, brick by cracked brick. A senator tours it with a smile. A magistrate signs a scroll. Someone ties a ribbon to the door. There is no mention of the last collapse. No plaque, no prayers. A child moves in. You see her staring out the same window that once fell. The builder is praised. His profits grow. His wine is sweet. He sleeps well. He builds again. You tell someone the truth once. They nod, then look away. One day, a poet passes you in the forum. He's reciting verses about the glory of Rome, the eternal marble, the perfect arches, the everlasting peace. You almost laugh, but you don't. You just walk on, past the monuments, past the baths, past the statues of gods that never answered, and into another alley, where the bricks flake, and the sky above you leans. You sleep light. You listen to the timber. You know its language now. The city grows. The cracks grow with it. And Rome pretends nothing happened.